now it started.
Okay. Okay.
Good morning, Tink.
Okay. I think we have everyone.
Looks like Maureen's trying to come on again. She's on there twice. She must be having a hard time connecting.
Yes, again is the right word.
Maureen, are you on the phone or on your computer?
Yes.
Both?
The computer for the visual, the phone for the sound. So I don't know.
So I'm going to be doing a lot of talking, unfortunately. So I just want to make sure, is everyone okay hearing me and that I'm not choppy?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Shall we go ahead and call the meeting to order?
Sure. And I'm going to take the minutes, correct?
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to stay on and just listen, but I'll put myself on mute and stuff.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thanks, Michelle.
Okay, so committee members, we have Patsy McCook, Tink Wilhauer, Maureen Plumley, Holly Lyman is excused, and myself and Mary Jo Nozel. I'd like to approve the minutes. Can we have a motion to approve the minutes of August 21st?
I so move.
Will anyone second that or discussion?
Do we need to read them?
I'm assuming everyone read them before they got online.
Okay, good. There we are.
Would anyone like to second the motion? I'll second the motion.
Okay, it should be somebody besides the person who actually wrote the minutes. So.
Oh, okay.
That's me. Yeah, okay.
All in favor of approving the minutes of August 21st?
Aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Okay, the minutes are approved.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to try to share a screen because our next thing is bronze certification announced. Let's see. I'm clicking up, there it is. Okay. All right, hopefully you're seeing something that says Sustainable Old Lyme and not my ancestry.com.
So that would be interesting too.
Okay.
It's not up yet. Cheryl. Sometimes it takes it a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Not up yet. Did you hit share screen, right?
I did, and I can see it on mine. It says,
It's up now.
okay. And Michelle, I have some little windows open on top of this. I don't know if I can move them out of the way, but.
We're just seeing your PowerPoint at this point.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. I am happy for us to talk about. Congratulations, Town of Old Lyme. Bronze certified.
Congratulations to the dames.
Well, I also I wanted to make a point of saying Town of Old Lyme because really there were so many people who were involved that, you know, in many ways we were the documenters of what other commissions and staff people and boards were doing. We of course had our own action, which was the walk audit. and a few other things. But really, this was a recognition of all the ways in which the town of Old Lyme is sustainable. And, including things like, we have Michelle on the line. Michelle and Dave Roberge have a very effective communication strategy, and that was recognized as an area of excellence. The Plan of Conservation and Development of 2010. There were a number of actions, and we'll look at those in a minute, but also I want to make a special point of pointing out that the Conservation Commission did an exceptional job of really holding on to and keeping this alive during a time of transition in town. Bonnie is someone who spearheaded this in the beginning. She had her committee, and during our transition time, Maureen really took the bull by the horns and enlisted the people, the good volunteers of the Conservation Commission to keep this going, to start the application process in April. And, it's very likely this could have, died on the vine if Maureen and the folks in conservation didn't keep it alive. So there's a lot of gratitude as well, I'm sure, from the town for the folks of conservation, and Maureen in particular, for keeping this going. I'm seeing that Holly has joined our meeting.
Very exciting, yes.
Hi,
So I'm sorry to jump in late. Hello, everybody.
Good to have you.
Hi. So
Holly, you're
Skip
just,
surgery was yesterday. He comes home from the hospital in about an hour, and I just thought I would sneak on and see everybody's face for a minute.
well, we're
Yeah,
so
what's going on?
Good to see you.
So, thank you. Good to
you.
see you.
Good to hear.
So how's everything? What's the update?
You know what, Maureen, we're being recorded for YouTube, so
I'm
perhaps
sorry.
you can have Holly share that with us in a more private way.
Everything's
Thank you.
good.
Okay.
Thank you very much, and we'll stay with the agenda since there's so much to cover. And Cheryl, thank you for grabbing this ball.
Well, and I just
Sorry,
want to make sure privacy is respected.
Yeah,
So, and Holly, you're just in time because we were just talking about how your group of people really kept this going through the spring, and you were a big part of that with the walkability audit and getting the first phase of that application done in April. So thank you to you and Maureen and the whole crew who kept this going.
it was Maureen. So it was a very interesting experience. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
So we got 320 points.
Woohoo!
We
All right.
asked for 340, but and it's not a surprise we got 320. When we put in the Regional 18 sustainability plan, we didn't know if we should put that in as asking for 20 points or 40 points. We asked for 40 points, and they said, actually, it's a great program, but this is the type of thing that gets 20 points. So we pretty much, basically got everything we asked for.
Yay.
Okay.
Hey, Cheryl, what was the possible total that we could have earned?
We got
We got
everything.
What was it?
Well, what we asked for,
Out of how many points? We earned 320 out of how many points?
I have no idea the total number. I
Okay.
can do that for you. But we,
That's okay. I'm just doing the minutes as we go along. Okay.
yeah,
No problem.
we got points for everything we asked for.
Okay.
So bronze is 200. We are 80 points away from silver certification, which Old Saybrook just achieved this time. And there will be a gold level. Sustainable Connecticut is going to introduce that next year. So I don't know if that would be 600 points or 500 points. Okay. The committee members got the first letter from Sustainable Connecticut, which had an attachment, which had, I can find it. There was a spreadsheet, and that spreadsheet gave us all of the comments. If you look at me, let's see, like that. There was a spreadsheet like that. So that gives us all of the comments that they give us on each of our approvals. And it also told us which items would be held up as success stories, meaning that when other towns or municipalities go for their application, filling out their application, they can look and see what other towns have done. So you can see that second set of bullets, those are the items that Sustainable Connecticut is holding up as something for other towns to look at when they're doing their actions, as here's a best practice or best case, here's a good success story in this area. So far, it's been communicated to the community through Tim's weekly newsletter, e-newsletter. Michelle has done a press release, and I know Line has picked it up. It's also on the website. We have an article in Events Magazine for December. The Planning Commission has been alerted to the bronze certification, and there's a possibility that there's going to be like 2 or 3 lines in there about how we've been recognized by Sustainable Connecticut for these areas of sustainability, which plays right into what a POCD does. We're continuing to reach out to the different commissions, staff, and other contributors that to let them know that either they've been recognized as a success story or just thanking them for the role they played. And that also involves talking to commissions or staff about other things they're doing that might help us in our next phase. And then Mary Jo, I know it's been a very busy month for everyone with the election and all, but hopefully at some point we can do our annual presentation, which I think the resolution says we're to do to the Board of Selectmen.
Certainly.
And we have to do the final readout on our walkability findings. Okay.
I'm just wondering, should we try to draft something quickly for the town report? Are we now at the status where that would be appropriate? We could just do the same thing we did in events, but that's a more permanent record, isn't it? And I think they take material until November 20th, even though they said they wanted everything by September 30th.
So the town report is for everything. That's a good idea, Holly. The town report is for everything up to June 30th, 2020.
Yeah.
So we should definitely make sure it's in next year's town report.
Okay, that's probably better. Okay.
We want to make sure that doesn't slip.
Okay.
Excellent. Okay. Any other thoughts on that? All right. So before we get into the next area, which is our path to silver, I just want to share some of the things that I learned with the August submission. So for Sustainable Connecticut, and this really helps, I think, when talking to other people in town, sustainability, I think many of us, we think off the bat about ecological sustainability. But for Sustainable Connecticut, sustainability means resilience across many areas. So it's economic, it's cultural, health and wellness, natural resources, giving everyone a voice in an inclusive way. So these are all the ways in which a municipality is resilient. And that's really what we're talking about, which is why it's nice that this is a team that reports to the Board of Selectmen, because it's kind of an umbrella organization for economic development and conservation and senior center and all the different commissions and boards. The certification requires sustainability in multiple areas. and that it's the municipality and the town government that's taking a meaningful role in the sustainable actions it submits. So this isn't about anything in town that does a sustainable action. It really is recognizing the municipality or the town government playing a meaningful role in that. So say as an example, maybe the Junior Women's Club, a nonprofit in town, does a pollinator garden. Well, we can't play off of that at all unless the town government plays a meaningful role in that. And that either means promoting it in a substantial way or purchasing signs for it or doing some, or letting them use town ground, which they have done. But anyway, we have to always prove that the town government, whether it's the commissions or staff or boards, has done something significant in it. And that's what we're actually documenting. And also that Sustainable Connecticut, the actions that they provide us, they're very specific. And I know all of us who have been involved in this, you read these action, the write-ups, and they are very detailed, and you can read it one time and think you understand it, and then you read it a second time and then you realize, oh no, really, we need to have this other aspect to what we're doing. So it's very specific, and you have to do exactly something within what they're suggesting, or else you don't receive points. Or if you do something tangential, you don't receive points. So I'll give you an example. The school system is starting this challenge to collect recyclable plastic film. It's called the Trex Challenge. You're going to be hearing about it more in the next couple of weeks. They came in third place nationally last year in recycling plastic film. So my thought was, oh, that's recycling additional materials. That's something that we can put something into our actions, because if the municipality participates if we encourage residents to participate in the Trex Challenge, we can maybe get some points from that. But then I reread the action requirements, and it has to be setting up an infrastructure within the municipality to collect plastic film over time. It's not participating in a challenge, it's ongoing plastic film recycling. So it's that kind of detail that we have to pay really close attention to. And then some of you heard me say this in August that, I know my kids heard this quite often in middle school and high school: follow the rubric. You have to do things exactly as they are requesting you to do. The documentation must completely show that the town has completely met the submission requirements. So those are all some points that I continue to try to remind myself of, and interesting to keep in mind as we start planning what we want to do next. Okay, so these are the points we received for 2020. Let's move this out of the way here. Okay, anything circled in red is what we got points for. And this is the 2020 list. And as you can see, it's pretty diverse. There's a lot that we can work on, or a lot that we did work on, I'm sorry, but there's a lot of potential for other items.
Cheryl,
Yeah?
that screen has a, oh, there it is. Now it's
There it
active.
is. There you go.
Thank you.
So the items, thank you for giving me the heads up because I saw it right away. So if I start talking with no screen, please let me know.
Yeah, there's a delay for some reason.
Okay. So everything in red is what we got points for.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's good to see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the 2020 action list that we were provided. And as you know, each one of those little items, 1.1, support redevelopment of brownfield sites, that has a 2 or 3 page document that goes with it that describes exactly what you need to do to get points in that area. And same for all the other, there's probably, 85 or 90 of those there? Maybe 65, something. Okay.
Job security.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. Okay. Hang on. Okay. I'm actually going to skip ahead and come back to this. Okay. So you should have now or soon a slide that says reorganized action numbers. You
Yep.
see that? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So I sat in on a webinar that Sustainable Connecticut held, which has changes for 2021. And these changes are being announced or finalized in January. So we have a heads up on some of the draft items. And they're keeping us on our toes. So the first thing is that they're reorganizing the action numbers. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but just so you know, that last slide with all those numbers, number 1 was economic development, number 2 was or natural resources, well stewarded lands. Those are all being reorganized and renumbered. So what we always talked about, action 9, our inclusive process, that is now becoming action 1, action category 1. And that is because they want to highlight it as its importance in everything we do, having inclusive processes. And then all the other actions are going to automatically on our portal, on our dashboard, be renumbered. So I remember the walk audit was number 5.5, I believe. That's now going to be 6.5. So if anyone is trying to track things in the future, they're just going to need to remember that these actions have been renumbered. Apparently, we're not going to have to do anything about that, but just be aware of it.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Okay, in addition, there are proposed new actions. And you should have a screen up that has like a lime green header, proposed new actions for 2021.
I don't see that.
Let's see if it pops up in a
Oh,
second.
there it is. There it is.
So these are not my proposed new actions. These are Sustainable Connecticut's actions that we're expecting them to finalize in January. So under the old action 9, you see the first item 9/1. That means it used to be action category 9, and now it's action category 1. Inclusive and equitable community impacts. That's where we did the walk audit in an equitable way. So now, in addition to doing things in an equitable way, which is required still, there's also 2 new actions. Participate in equity training. That's having 3 municipal representatives. I think it's a staff person, an elected person, and 1 other municipal person attend equity training, which I assume during COVID would be a webinar. I don't know that for certain. We'll know in January. The second item under that is develop and adopt a statement on equity. And they have a very specific process for that, which includes an inclusive process of inviting the community to participate in collaborating to develop and adopt a statement on equity. There are 2 new actions under well-stewarded land and natural resources. One is enhance pollinator pathways, which we're going to talk about in depth, or not in depth, but specifically, and also promoting dark skies, reducing night pollution. Is Tink still on the line? I saw that she got off, but anyway, the next one under inclusive engagement, communication, and education is collaborating with other municipalities, which is mentoring other towns in sustainable Connecticut, which was of interest to Tink, helping in some way.
That's great.
Okay. We're going to come back to that one as well. Optimal health and wellness opportunities. We have developing and promoting community growing spaces, community gardens.
That's nice.
Okay, housing, implementing policy for diverse housing options, sustainable diverse housing options. And then the 12th one is a whole new category, which is effective, compassionate homelessness prevention. As you know, we have to have an action in every category. So we're going to have to find a way, if the next time we submit, to have an action under homelessness prevention, which is either increasing public awareness, collecting and sharing homelessness data, coordinating municipal services with homeless response system, and improving outcomes for people experiencing homelessness. And for anyone listening, I want to remind them that homelessness is not just, when you see an unfortunate situation of someone in a more urban area sitting outside without a home, it's also what's known as couch surfing, when perhaps a family has an academic rental during the school year. Maybe a single mom and her child, they're in an academic rental and that rental isn't available during the summer and they spend the summer couch surfing. That is homelessness. Okay. Okay, so now you're going to get an even more dizzying list. 2021 action list. Let me know when that comes up.
It's up.
Okay. So now,
Wow.
circled in red again, what we've already done. I've circled in green what's brand new. You're also going to see number 8, action area 8, inclusive engagement, and action area 9, strategic materials management. That used to be one category combined, and now it's split out into 2. So we are in very good shape, number 8, because we've got sustainability events and we've got Michelle Noren's communications strategy, and we've done training, but we are going to need to do something on strategic materials management. And I'm going to come back to that because I have a little bit of background on that. So I will be able to provide everyone with the slideshow when we're done by email, but I just want to give you a minute to kind of see again, once more, each one of these subset items has a very detailed set of instructions on how you go about doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And in number 1, that 1.1 optimize for equity, that's what we had applied to the walking audit and to the economic roundtables. That is required to do with at least one item again, but 1.2 and 1.3 are not required, but they are available for us to do.
Oh, Cheryl, question?
Yes.
Under the large heading action list, it says proposed action list. What does proposed mean?
That I had grabbed that from the webinar that I attended, and that was, Patsy, that was in September, I think. And at that point, Sustainable Connecticut was proposing these actions. And because they have their own inclusive, equitable process, they were getting feedback from the towns on what they thought about those actions and how they would want to see them developed. So those actions are still, even though they're listed as proposed, they're on track to be introduced in January, and they're not required. So they were being proposed to be part of this whole sheet that I have in front of you, but we can pretty much guarantee that in January, we're going to see some final resolution of that includes these.
Okay.
And just to clarify, Cheryl, what you are saying as far as action list, which is big, it's not proposing that this committee actually does this work, correct? I mean, well, this is looking at collaboration, so that they would connect with other groups, I don't know, conservation, or what comes to mind, number 12, about homelessness, is that there is a recently established, Patsy or Tink, tell me, correct me, on social justice. And that, as I see it, I'm not positive about that, was initiated by the Congregational Church. And at least they play a very large part in it. So some of that is already on the move.
So
Patsy, are you part of that? Are you part of that group?
I am.
Okay.
Mary
Okay.
Jo.
So yeah, so some of that works. So how would we connect to somebody, a group that's already doing things, that's already made choices? It's not up to us to take away from them. It's up to us to support or just document.
Well, I think maybe Cheryl probably should address that, but I think that's an example of communication and outreach that this committee needs to do, to see how we can coordinate our actions with other groups.
That's right. And Maureen, you made an excellent point, because when you look at all of these actions this way, you realize this is not for our little team of 5 people to do. We really need to be a liaison, a coordinator, a documenter for all of the good work going on around us. And when we can, if we can say to a commission or committee, you know, you're doing this plan, can we share with you what Sustainable Connecticut thinks is, you know, a best practice, and let us know if you're doing that. We're happy to submit that as an action. That's great. The homelessness, yeah, we can tie into the Social Justice Coalition, but there's also, and I'm going to come back to this, we're in a regional coordinated access network, where both the social service, Jen Datum of the Social Service Department and Mary Seidner of Lyme's Youth Service Bureau, they participate in a regional coordinated access network, which is kind of a government entity. So we have a regional understanding of homelessness, and I'm sure we can collect some data that way as well.
So it probably would help us to look at this chart with that in mind. In other words, how we would choose or prioritize has to do with how we would connect. So, all right, so in my case, I have a foot here and a foot in conservation, so there's a bridge right there. And Mary Jo, you've got the social justice side of it. So I think it would help me to understand what is being asked of the committee and the role that we would play in basically in drawing another group into the sustainability rubric, like the high school. For example, we don't have a good connection to the high school and their project. So we either have to find it or know where to put it, where to slot it into this action list, or find somebody maybe from the high school who would be the bridge. Doesn't have to be one of us 5.
Right. So are you talking about the plastic film project that I told you about?
Yeah.
Okay. So as an example, that is happening at the Board of Education level. And there's a Board of Ed member, Jen Miller, who is very involved with that. It's actually a school district-wide program, but there's a sustainability committee there. And I'm talking to Jen Miller and learning more from them about that project, as well as Rebecca Waldo and Karen Taylor. Those are 3 people who have been very involved in sustainability at the district. So we do have a connection there. I'll give you another example of how outreach happens and how this committee can operate. Affordable housing. So I submitted a letter to the Affordable Housing Committee, which is not, they're a short-term committee, and they're doing kind of a snapshot right now, a white paper that's going to be finalized this winter. And they're going to be suggesting, they've already given the heads up to Board of Selectmen that they're suggesting a formal Affordable Housing Commission or committee to continue to work on the affordable housing effort. So what I did was share with them the actions on the list that relate to affordable housing and collecting that data. And so they've looked at that and they've taken it quite to heart. And they're coming back to me saying, these are the things that we are doing, but these are the things we're not doing. So it's a matter of having different, well, I'm going to change the screen because I actually have a slide sort of like this. So bear with me. I'm going to go back a little bit if I can. Hang on. My little, I can't go. Let's see. Hang on. Oops. That's not. Oh, okay. Hang on. Okay. Okay, so there are things underway in other commissions, boards, and town staff people that are easy to locate, find, and use. So I have from Greg Futoma the new open space plan. So I'm going to take a look at that and see how that matches up with the requirements for Sustainable Connecticut to have an open space plan to submit. I'm sure it's quite compatible, and we should probably be able, by documenting the work of the Open Space Commission, we should be able to get points for that on their behalf. So there are projects already underway, like affordable housing, open space, probably several others that I don't have listed here, that we just have to tap into the leaders of those projects and say, here's what we're looking for. Is this what you're doing or at all interested in doing? Then there are projects that we as a team, just like you did the walking audit, we as a team might want to pursue ourselves. And so that's, I'm going to go to another screen now. I'm just moving forward. There should be a screen called timing. I'm just going to go over this real quick, Maureen, then I'm going to go back to your question. Do you have timing up on the board?
No, I have reorganized action number on timing
There.
now. Yeah.
Here it is.
So I just want to go over this quickly before I move on to the next slide, which goes back to Maureen's point. So if we decide we want to pursue silver, we don't have to do it for April. We could probably attain it in the next 6 months, but it's about the amount of time we have to pursue things and, the resources we have. So I think we can likely achieve, we're at 320, we need 400, we can likely achieve 80 points in 2021. But we also need to address homelessness, which I think we can probably do between the CAN, which is the Coordinated Access Network that Jen Datum's a part of, and then the social justice people, and the strategic materials management, which I'll go back to, but I think that's Tim. And then we're waiting for new guidance from Sustainable Connecticut about expiring actions, because that's always the thing. They used to have this idea that you had to, if you were going to resubmit, you had actions expiring in 12 months and you had to refresh them and show new action there. That's kind of going away, but I'm waiting for new guidance on that in January. So there may be some things that aren't expiring, which we're thinking are expiring. Okay. So now a pathway to silver would start with actions that are currently possible. So the open space plan, which is one of the actions on the list. There's an item, the Plan of Conservation and Development Support, a recommendation of low impact development for 5 points. Affordable Housing Committee, they might be able to address the housing needs assessment in the level of detail that Sustainable Connecticut is looking for. They're doing a housing needs assessment, but there's all kinds of criteria Sustainable Connecticut wants. So that's something we're sorting out. Jen Miller and I are sorting out right now, like what are they going to have or not have? We have the 2 new categories that are needed: strategic materials management. One of those actions is materials management data. And I think that's actually Tim, because he's been going to some RiverCog meetings that address that. And I know he talked about this in a recent Board of Selectmen meeting about how much our solid waste weighs and how it's changed over the last few years. And then homelessness, we can, I have, again, that coordinated access network with Jen Datum, collect and share homelessness data. But we can also see how the social justice group also plays a role in that. And then we have existing items. We can get additional points for continuing to hold sustainability events and workshops. And that is something where if the library holds a sustainability talk, they're doing some in the spring, we can be involved in that in some meaningful way, whether through promotion or, if it wasn't the pandemic, allowing them to use the town hall meeting space as their lecture hall. And then having 3 municipal representatives participate in equity training. I'm going to change the screen. So this, I'm going to try not to chuckle because I know I've overwhelmed you all now with that list of the 2021 actions, but I'm proposing new actions.
So could I, Cheryl, could I just add in here in order to forestall being overwhelmed? We're really only looking to gain 80 points.
Right.
Right, because we're not starting from the beginning. We are building on what we already have, and we had more than the 200 required for bronze level. So that leaves us an additional 120, but then to get silver, we only need to add 80.
Correct. Yeah.
So, all right, that puts a little bit of perspective on it. And one comment, I like to see visuals. So I'm a big fan of visuals of how I would participate in things. And the visual that comes to mind has been coming to mind as far as our sustainability group, is that we're acting as sort of an octopus in the town. In other words, sustainability is the head, and you've got all of these arms and connections throughout the town that help to solidify and help these projects stand on legs. So, I mean, we all don't have to do everything, I guess, would be what I would say. And there are certain projects or initiatives that are appeal to each and individual here. So we are allowed to choose whatever you want to do. And then the idea is to document, to educate that group, like I've been doing with conservation, educate them, and really to guide. Conservation is another group, small group of people. We can't possibly run a lot of events or initiatives or carry out a lot of good ideas because we don't have the manpower or the connection within the town. But sustainability has the purpose of collaboration, and that seems to strike a better chord in a town. You're doing this to collaborate, not for any one group to have the muscle or the pride of ownership that goes with it. So I haven't read your list here yet, but there's plenty of good ideas, and we have plenty of elbow room, each one of us, to choose and prioritize and act on without feeling like you have to do everything. Is that correct?
Maureen, that's fantastic. I love the visual of the octopus, and I love what you just said about we don't all have to be involved in everything. You're right on the mark. So thank you for clarifying that for everyone. And what we did back in August, I think, or September, we kind of said, you know, everyone should let us know what their personal interest is, or their interest as a person with, you know, sustainability as one of their core values who are participating in this. So, for instance,
keep in mind that we don't have to earn 400 points. We
right.
have to raise our level of points in the bucket that we have up to 400, and that's only an 80-point difference. So, and we still, you know, can look to the future. We can define some of these actions that are more reasonable within what we want to or can do, and, you know, look ahead to gold. We want to win the gold, but we don't have to do it all at once. So, okay, I'm just clarifying the way I look at sustainability. If you don't like the idea of the octopus, I don't know, spider might be another visual, but it's the idea of the body, the head, and then the arms reaching out into the community that gives the stability.
I love
Go ahead.
I love the octopus, and octopi are very intelligent beings. So.
Yeah, they really are. They have a big brain in that body.
So we'll be an
good memory.
So Cheryl, I've got like 5 minutes, so let's.
Okay, and also, Maureen is right. We just want to, you know, we've got our short-term goal of getting the 80 points, but we want to be a little more sustainable and think long-term. If we start some projects slowly now, we'll be in position for gold in the future. Okay, so providing, the first one, providing an arts and culture program for youth, that's something I can do to the side with the arts district. That's very doable. Enhance pollinator pathways. I know there's several people on the line who are interested in that, and I'm going to talk about that in a next slide. Community growing space. I only had that on here because Mary Jo, I know there was someone who approached the Board of Selectmen through you.
Jim Ward.
Jim Ward. Okay. Developing a food waste prevention and food scraps recovery program. That's something that Patsy and I share a common interest in. That's composting and that sort of thing. I have another slide on that. Conservation Commission interests. Maureen and I should probably talk further about the list of potential actions that the Conservation Commission as a commission might want to pursue that are around well-stewarded land and natural resources.
And I'd like to just interrupt you for a second. I'd like that connecting person to not be me in conservation. So Gary, if he's not still sitting there, I'm going to propose him.
Okay.
Terrific.
Terrific.
There, Gary, I want you to be the person, not me.
Okay. Rebecca Waldo is very interested in supporting zero emission vehicle deployment.
Okay.
I have Tink's name down here with collaborating with other municipalities. Holly, I'm making a note of your point, and I'm going to come back to sustainable tourism. Tink is interested in collaborating, perhaps mentoring Lyme, but that might be a longer term interest. And if there's any chance that we can do any of these in an inclusive way, we should pursue that. We should begin that way rather than trying to apply inclusiveness to the process once it's already been going on. There are two thoughts for the future that perhaps could be a create your own sustainable activity. One is a climate change book club in town. And the other one, I can't say Charlotte because Holly's name is listed as Charlotte.
That is my real name. I answered to both.
Holly's listed as sustainable tourism in Old Lyme. And I think that's something I can definitely talk to economic development about.
Yeah, I just feel like, yeah, it's, Old Lyme's so beautiful and it would be good for the town to bring in more tourists, and we could be marketing Old Lyme as a nearby place to visit instead of, charging off to, some ski resort or something on the other side of the country.
And I know that's something the Economic Development Commission is pursuing in their future work, both arts and ecology tourism. We do have to look at how we can, if that makes sense for sustainable Connecticut. Okay. Mary Jo, I know we're losing you in a minute. Is there anything before I talk about some of these ideas that you want to bring up or ask or talk about specifically?
I just really like this list, and I don't see any reason why the Board of Selectmen couldn't support it. In particular, the food waste prevention and scraps, it just seems like a natural progression in our, recycling efforts. So I really think that it'll be easy to promote that from that end. And then I also think the Board of Finance needs to be brought in to some of this.
Can you elaborate on that for me?
Yeah, I think the efforts, to go to silver is going to require probably some resources that we didn't need for bronze, or we managed. I really think we're going to need a budget of some kind, and this is the budget gathering phase. This again would be for starting, after June 30th, but we really need to get on the Board of Finance list for a budget, for mailings, for printing, communication. It doesn't have to be a lot of money, but I really, really think this group, because of its connection with boards and commissions that do have budgets, needs to have a line item to support our efforts.
Okay. We will definitely work on what we would like to see. And it's a good point. This is for July 30th, 2021 budget.
Yeah.
Not for January 1st.
Right. Right. Although, there might be money that we can if we need, especially if we're working with on a particular issue that's for, say, conservation that has a budget, there may be a way of transferring some of that or using their budget for our needs. So it's not like we're out in the woods until July 1st, but I do think even $1,000 would be very helpful.
Okay, great.
And I'm so sorry I have to go to another meeting, but thank you.
Thank you, Mary Jo.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Does anyone else have to get off the line for 10 o'clock?
I will need to leave fairly soon, but I can stay on for another 10 minutes.
Okay, Holly, we're going to assume you're going to quietly leave.
Yes.
I was going to say best wishes to you today and as your husband moves forward.
Thanks very much.
Okay, I kind of skipped ahead. I'm going to go back to pollinator pathways, but where Mary Jo was talking about the food waste prevention, I brought that screen up first. So this is something that Patsy and I have been very interested in, composting. Patsy's familiar with Vermont's program where they don't have, and correct me if I'm wrong, Patsy, but they don't have food waste in their solid waste. No one puts their food waste in solid waste legally.
It was just the law was enacted a few months ago, prohibiting it.
That's amazing, because one thing we know is that a substantial amount of the solid waste in Connecticut is made up of organic or food waste.
And there's so much methane that gets released.
Absolutely, as an ecological issue. So there's really two issues to it. One is the ecology of it, and the other is the cost of it. And I know Tim is I'm sure he's interested in both, but I know he has a particular interest in reducing the cost of our waste. It's something that the RiverCog has a special program on. And so Sustainable Connecticut is offering first 5 points for any action program that creates and implements a campaign to reduce food waste. And then also creating some sort of program, 10 points, if we can create some sort of program that promotes food scraps or food waste prevention. So that's organizing home composting workshops, distributing bins for home composting. I sat in on a webinar about composting, and I think we're quite a ways far away as a municipality of having compost collected the way it is in some other municipalities. There's a lot of startup costs to that. So far, we've reached out to someone on what was the recycling committee, which is stagnant now. And we've reached out to the school, and we have several people interested in this topic. So we might consider creating a subcommittee that would just focus on this.
Sounds good.
All right. I'm going to just get us back to pollinator pathways. Okay. I think this is kind of the funnest thing in my own mind. Something we might take on for across multiple organizations, and that would be of interest to homeowners and small businesses and organizations, the Conservation Commission, and is something we could really have fun with.
Cheryl, could I interrupt just for a minute? I want to make sure that Gary is tuned in on us. Gary, are you there? Hello? Gary? Because this is something that he had suggested. Okay, so Gary, this is about pollinators. Okay, so just didn't want you to miss it. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
That's fine. Okay. I know Gary has suggested a pollinator garden in several places. And then also I've been talking to Suzanne Thompson, who many of you know, who led the Nip the Knotweed program this past summer, which was very successful. Okay, so here's what Sustainable Connecticut is looking for. Creating a pollinator pathway. And I don't want to, you know, try to educate people who are already smart on this, but what they're looking for in a pathway is creating connecting gardens. So what we really want as a town is to create these corridors, if you will, or multiple gardens that pollinators can move from location to location. And the ultimate idea is to create pollinator corridors across Connecticut and the eastern shoreline. So what we want to do is create our own pathway in Old Lyme. And East Lyme and Essex are two local towns that are already doing this. So what what Sustainable Connecticut is looking for is, first one, 5 points for providing education to residents and local businesses to improve pollinator habitat, reduce use of insecticides, promoting the addition of clover, not mowing the grass as frequently, or raising the height on mowers so that your grass isn't cut short, and other pollinator-friendly practices. So providing education to residents, that can be through website or webpage resources, that can be seminars or webinars, that can be handouts. The second thing would be worth 15 points. Creating pollinator gardens and upgrading existing gardens to be pollinator friendly. And they should include pollinator education signage that is accessible, inclusive, and educates residents of all ages about the importance of pollinators to society. There must be a significant partnership between the municipality and other organizations in town participating. For instance, the junior women have a butterfly garden at Cross Lane, the recreational area. Baseball fields are there. The playground is there. They have a butterfly garden there. We would want to, and that's municipal property. We would want to ensure that butterfly garden has educational signage, but also to create other pollinator gardens on municipal land, such as Haynes Park, and but also to encourage residents to have their own pollinator gardens, so that we can create this pathway for the bees and the birds. That is worth 15 points. And then for 20 points, and I think this is kind of a longer term, passing a resolution at, I guess it would be Board of Selectmen, pollinator friendly community resolution. And that would support the tree commission, purchasing native plants and trees, collaborating with suppliers on sourcing plants free of neonicotinoids. I did pronounce that. Which are pesticides that are in seeds, and then that's systemic. The plant grows, it's resistant to a particular pest, quote unquote, but it also kills bees. So there's a big push right now to regulate or decommission plants being sold with neonicotinoids and other chemicals that may be harmful to pollinators. So that's a big do. That's 20 points. And to pass a resolution is a big situation. So Suzanne and I have been outlining a possible program, like an overall program for pollinator pathways. Let's see. Trying to change my screen here. Hang on. Yep, there we go. So Gary, I'm happy to have you involved in this sustainable. So I'm proposing the Sustainable Old Lyme team collaborates with Suzanne Thompson as sort of a coordinator of all the efforts. She is obviously involved in Duck River Garden Club and other ecology and nature organizations, as well as the commissions. We have a list of multiple organizations to participate, to approach, to ask if they'd like to participate, including the Conservation Commission. We have thought about a social media campaign and a communications component to reach residents and encourage them to have pollinator gardens. People who enjoy gardening often start thinking about their gardens in January, planning what they're going to plant, buying seeds in January. So we would hope to launch something in January. And we have a month-by-month timeline that goes through the autumn with monthly activities or objectives, including encouraging local plant sales to include native plants. What we really want to encourage is people planting native plants and non-invasive plants. We're looking at a number of resources that we can make available online to homeowners and maybe small businesses, and webinars for those who wish to participate. I just want to hold up this book very briefly. This is the newest book by Douglas Tallamy, Nature's Best Hope. Is that his newest one? Yeah. A New Approach to Conservation in Your Own Backyard. I'm trying to get that in front of the screen. Douglas Tallamy. For anyone who wants to read more about that. And there's an organization that coordinates a number of different towns on pollinator pathways, and we can get from them stickers for participators who, or maybe small lawn signs that say, you know, I pollinator garden here. I know, some sort of thing that identifies a homeowner as someone with a pollinator garden. They would provide us with a web page to promote the program and link us geographically to other towns that would create a commuter corridor.
I love this whole pollinator thing. I think it could be a showpiece for a lot of what we're doing, including connecting to other municipalities, things like groups like conservation. We did a program on bees a couple of years ago that was wonderful, an exhibit and a presentation by a beekeeper. For example, this barrier garden at Haynes Park, Gary and I spent time upgrading, cleaning up this past season. So that has a plan to be expanded by Linda Clow, Master Gardener, and Duck River Gardener. And it could easily be promoted as it might actually be more engaging as a pollinator garden as opposed to a barrier garden, because barrier garden it has to be explained, but that could all be incorporated, and even possibly the site for a like a sustainable event where people drop in and pick up. Years ago, I did a whole campaign, one-man band of a campaign of planting clover, and I probably still have clover seeds sealed up in little tiny envelopes to be distributed. So there's a lot of things that we could do with this. This appeals to kids. It's a family project. You know, throw a few seeds on the ground and you've got the start of a pollinator garden. So it's colorful, it's warm and fuzzy. You know, bees and butterflies. Who doesn't love that? And flowers. So great. And if Suzanne Thompson, she's a pro, is involved in planning that, then it's a no-brainer. There's so many things that could happen with this, and it just lends itself to so many other ways of doing things in the town. So like conservation, things that have already been done and tried, but not with the sustainable approach. So I think it could tickle a lot of people, a lot of delight included in this.
Yeah, I have to
What do you
agree.
think,
It's
Gary?
real feel good. Yeah, what is, Gary, do you want to unmute and just, if you have any thoughts on this? Can Gary hear us?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, pollinators is something that I'm very interested in. I mean, besides Haynes Park, we got Wick Meadow up at Capella. If you haven't been there, you need to go there because it's the best place in the world for pollinator garden. And also at the high school. Suzanne probably has already contacted Heather Freed, but I will call Suzanne after this conference and make a contact with her. Heather Freed, I'll call her a biology teacher at the high school. She's amazing. And she's got a garden already. I'm not hearing you.
Do I have anyone else on the call? Oh, there you are.
Okay. Did you just hear me?
I heard part of it. And so who did you think Suzanne might already have been in contact with?
Heather Freed at the high school.
Oh, okay. Yes. The head of the environmental club.
Yes, she already has a fairly good sized garden going outside the back door.
Oh, okay. Great. Okay. So if the committee members, if the team members feel like this is something there, and it doesn't mean that every one of us needs to be involved in this particular project, just those who want to be, as kind of the octopus. Is the team first interested in pursuing pollinator pathways as a project lead? And then Gary, if it is, then I can, in the coming days, talk to you more about the plans. So is there any feedback from other team members? Maureen was positive.
Oh, I think it's great. I don't know how I can participate, but how I can choose to spread my time. But I just think the whole thing just has so many ways of how we can exploit the idea and build other connect to other initiatives that we've got in mind. It just has such an appeal to everybody, families and kids particularly. And it's easy. I mean, you can, suddenly I'm saying to myself, I have a pollinator yard because I have no herbicides going, and I have lots of bees and hummingbirds. And believe me, I do not spend a lot of time nurturing my plantings in the yard. They just sort of take their own lead. So I can testify to how easy it is.
That's great. Holly, you're on mute. Do you have any input? Concerns?
I think it sounds like a great idea and a really positive thing that we could be doing, because people love their gardens so much in Old Lyme. And my garden, I'm wondering here, is my garden a pollinator garden? I'm not sure, but I haven't seen as many pollinators recently as I used to see. The whole issue is just fascinating, and I could probably be involved in that.
And I think too, and I think Holly, the whole idea of the pathway, it's going to be hard for pollinators to find you if others around you are not leading. Other, gardens aren't leading those pollinators to your property. Yeah. So, one thing we talked about is neighborhood efforts. If there's a neighborhood that is particularly close to each other, maybe they have block parties or LYSB parties together. Maybe they would consider having a neighborhood activity together about pollinator gardens, or everyone plants one near their mailbox, or.
Yeah, and again, it does touch on other issues which get a little bit, sometimes they get to be a little bit controversial, that people have different theories about what kind of pesticides are okay or are not okay. And people with the best of intentions, I know that with the best of intentions, I think I did a lot of things completely wrong with my garden because I didn't know what I was doing. And you don't want to be saying, you're a bad person, you sprayed this or you sprayed that. It's more like there's new research and this stuff and that stuff really is not good. I think we need to emphasize the newness of some of this research.
That's a great point. Yeah, we're all learning as we go, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a role the Conservation Commission plays for us, is being advocates for environmentally friendly practices.
Yeah. But I think that people, without meaning to, people make a lot of mistakes in terms of trying to have environmentally friendly gardens, and then they, I know I got a lot of stuff all wrong. I know I've planted stuff that, is full of those whatchamacallums. So it's that kind of, just I think a very sort of gentle approach is probably the best.
I think that's a great point. Patsy and Tink, are you still on the line? Okay, we may have lost some people.
And I think this person has to sign off, but this was fascinating. I look at your PowerPoint as soon as I can. Thank you, Cheryl.
Okay, thank you, Holly. Take care.
Thanks.
Okay. We talked about food waste. Recycling additional materials. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this right now. I don't know that Patsy's still on the line, but
Cheryl, I am, and I wanted to mention something.
Great.
I offered to work on food waste. Unfortunately, I had an accident yesterday, and I'm okay. But I realize I'm really overcommitted with our move and dealing with the renters of our house and other projects. And so I need to step back from that, at least for now. And I do have ideas on the role I can play with this committee, but I think I can't take on more projects because it's just been too much.
Well, I hope you are fine from your accident, and
it was a lesson. It was a lesson. I was doing too much too quickly, and I have a gash in my shin, which is not the first time. So I have stitches, and I have a crutch, and I can't walk for exercise. And I'll be fine, but it was a real lesson.
Well, I've had some of those lessons myself in the last 2 years, so I hear you on that. And we of course honor your time, needing to manage your time and not overcommit. So what I like about the way we're structuring all of this is that people can participate as much as they do or don't feel they can. And we have multiple projects going on. So it's not like our 80 points are hinging on any one project. So Patsy, you do what you need to do. And I'll just CC you on anything. And you, participate in whatever way makes sense for you.
Thanks. Could I mention one other thing? I will have to go before too long to deal with my tenants and a broken dishwasher. Okay. Tank and I were part of a Zoom meeting with the environmental committee at St. Anne's Church. And one of the questions, they're a very active committee. They're doing all sorts of things. And one question was whether, when we presented information about sustainable old Lyme, they were very interested in us and wondered if they could have joined this meeting. And I advised them not to, just because we're getting our ducks in a row right now. And, but in the future, could they join?
So, first of all, Patsy, I'm going to send to you and Tink, once I have it, the link to the YouTube for this meeting. So we're recording this meeting right now, and Michelle Norton at Town Hall will add it to the YouTube channel, which I don't know if anyone really uses YouTube. I do. And it's a way to watch meetings after they happened. So I'll send you that link once we have it, and they can watch this meeting for sure. Also, this is a public meeting. We're a public, so anyone can find the, online when we have our agendas. They're going to have our links to phone in, or once the pandemic's over, to attend our meetings. And then if they would like to, present to, or public comment or anything like that, they're more than welcome to. Just like we have Gary here today because of his interest from conservation on what our plans are. I think one of the next steps we're thinking about is having a conversation with conservation about a whole nother list of action items that might fall into their purview as well, to think about, not to do. So the other thing, Patsy and Tink, is that we're happy to go, or, you can on our behalf, but we're happy to go to one of their meetings and tell them more about sustainable old Lyme and what we're going to do.
Well, I think they're meeting monthly on Zoom, and the minister is very good at enabling there were about 10 other people to bring forth their projects, their ideas, their accomplishments, their connections. And so I think they could be a really good resource for us and vice versa.
That's great. Excellent.
Tink, did you have anything to add? I don't know if Tink is still here.
My screen isn't showing me everyone. It's just showing me 4 people.
We have Maureen and Gary and you.
Yeah.
And me. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So I will let them know about I knew it was a public meeting. I just thought that for this one, it was a little premature.
Yeah, I think, Gary's kind of our guinea pig watching this and seeing the process. I think we're very early in figuring out what our priorities are. I think there's some things that are already happening in town that we can link into, like the open space plan. I think we're agreed on the pollinator pathway as one thing to spend our time on. And we probably have some other things to really sort out, like recycling and things like that.
Yep. And I thought, Cheryl, just to conclude, my main role, I think, will be to coordinate with not only St. Anne's, but also the Congregational Church, just to keep them in the loop and possibly engage some of the, quote, members of our, quote, committee.
Yeah, I think that's great. Very, very helpful, Patsy.
Okay, good. And I love the food waste issue, but I'm going to step back from that for now, but don't rule it out later.
Okay, that sounds good. I think we have it's like a buffet. We have a lot of food to put on our plate here.
And we don't want to get obese.
That's right. Thanks, Patsy.
Thanks, Cheryl.
I'm just kind of going through the rest of these slides. Tink isn't here to talk more about mentoring another town. I think this is maybe something a little more long-term, but also to work with other sustainable Connecticut towns regionally. That might be something like recycling or the homelessness data. So it's something to keep our eye on. I'm not going to spend much more time on this. Okay, and then you should have a screen coming up. Next steps, priorities, resources, timelines. So in January 2021, we're going to know that Sustainable Connecticut's going to open their portal, and we're going to know what we do or don't have to do about expiring actions, and we're going to know the final details on new actions. What actions make sense to lead as a team. I think we already discussed pollinator pathways as kind of a strong one. What actions can we take on as an inclusive process? Maybe we can discuss that next time. What resources will help us implement actions? Mary Jo had a good point about perhaps putting something into the town budget. I don't think we have a quorum even right now to discuss, do we want to come up with maybe some items that we think we'd want budget for. What do you think, Maureen?
Well, I think, first of all, we probably won't meet in December. Is that what you're thinking? Or what sort of schedule are you thinking about? Monthly, weekly?
Well, not weekly for sure at this point.
Yeah.
I know you're gone in December, and I know December is a busy month for everyone. I think we could probably move some things forward, like the pollinator pathway, by email. We could do Google Documents, tracking some progress. Maybe I'll set up some Google Documents for some of these things that we can, like I can update people on what I think the open space plan does or doesn't meet in terms of Sustainable Connecticut's rubric. And then I really like for us to hit the ground running on pollinator pathways in January. So maybe we can have some emails going around about that.
Well, I think we need to regenerate our core committee to start with and get some, energy and excitement going. What if you email this group and ask them to respond with, just off the top of their heads, without making any current commitment, what projects, what topics interest them, and why? Or rather than ask why, what draws you to that project, or what have you done, or what's your connection? It could be recycling, it could be the gardens, just, what, not just out of the blue, oh yeah, I like that, but what might draw you to that topic? And then you've got a great visual of the checklist, so you can organize it by category, and then after that, build a timeline.
Okay.
So that we can have that action going through the next month, and plan a January meeting. But by January, you'd have some of those visuals to show people. Is that here's the list of proposed activities. Here's the list of people's interests or abilities, and how they connect. And that doesn't necessarily mean within this group. We've already got ideas of other people out there in the community, other looser connections, that maybe at that point draw them in, but ask them how they would like to participate. Good example of that would be St. Anne's Church.
Right.
What draws them to this? How would they like to participate? Emphasize they don't have to commit time at this point, but when we get back in January, get back together, then we can sift through that and organize it and see maybe some, expansion or focus would shift as far as what actions you propose.
I like that. That's good.
So get response from people. And I think, and in an email, that's all they have to do. I like this because of this. I have this. I can contribute this. I have a pollinator garden at home because I want to educate people. I can provide this. I can be the link to, you know, in the whole octopus thing, I can be the link to this group. And, you know, what do you want? You know, for example, I would work with the town of Lyme, but I'm not going to work with somebody in northwestern Connecticut as far as a municipality. I'll do something local and maybe something specific like getting them involved with the housing initiative, doing a pollinator garden, you know, in Lyme. Could be just some way to pull people in, but in other words, it would give me the chance to say, I can do this and I have this much time.
That's great. I like that idea.
Okay. Because we've lost people now, so we're kind of making it up as we go. And we don't want that. We want people to think about it at this point, give them a deadline for their response, you know, mid-December, for example, and just say that we're trying to organize.
Yeah, I think that's good. We did reach out to our small team August, September, and say, you know, what area are you passionate about? But to now like really hone in on, okay, so these are the actions related to that area of passion. What can you now, what's your ability now or time available now for that?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yeah. Hey, good job on all of this, Cheryl. Nicely organized and easy to understand. So this, is this a PowerPoint document that you have? Okay,
yes.
So this will be available online and on the YouTube channel, it will show up the way you're showing it now?
Yes.
Okay, so people don't need a separate document in order to read this.
Correct. I will send it out to the team. Gary, I can share it with you as well by email, just so that you can get to that one page with all the list on it. You can see.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good public document there. So easy to share and easy to refer people to it.
Great.
Okay, super job. Thank you for being so organized. Wonderful.
Okay, I think we lost our quorum, but is there any other new business?
Oh, I want to bring up the fact that Sustainable CT in an email, which I'm sure you got, wants us to make a 30-second statement for the overall, I guess, website that they have, how it has helped the town or what's come out of it. It's in one of the emails, and you can either record this independently and submit it, or there's a Zoom meeting on Thursday of this week, the last of 3 Zoom meetings that make it possible for you to make the statement in that venue. So 30 seconds is not very long, but the meeting on Thursday is at 11 o'clock.
Oh, okay. I missed that email if it came to me as well.
Okay.
Maureen, are you interested in doing that?
Yeah, I could do it. I'll have to time myself. So I stick to I could do it. I'll stick to 30 seconds, but I'll have to practice.
Why don't you forward me the email, and then if you'd like to do it, that's great. And I'm happy to, you know, help you figure out what you want to say or whatever, if you like.
Yeah, what's much to say in 30 seconds? Okay, yes.
I'm glad you brought that up. Any other new business? And just very quickly, next week, I'm part of a presentation on walk audits, and I'm covering this for Holly. I have a 10-minute slot where I talk about how we did our walk audit in an equitable way. So inviting people to participate and the survey and dealing with the pandemic and our vulnerable population during the pandemic, asking them to do walk audits. So that's next week.
And what is the meeting? Is it selectmen?
No, it's a Sustainable Connecticut webinar on transportation and walk audits.
Mhm. Well, thank you.
Sure. I have to write those, write that presentation this week. Okay. Any other new business?
So this agenda calls for us to determine a meeting schedule. You're suggesting once a month?
Well, Maureen, what do you think about if we choose to have another special meeting in January and then table creating a regular meeting until then?
Well, okay. Well, so what do you mean? What's the difference between a regular meeting and non-regular?
A regular meeting is regularly scheduled every month. So like the second Thursday of every month at 10 a.m. or whatever time.
Yeah, so pick a date in January, and then we'll call that our pre-season or something meeting before we actually settle on a regular schedule.
Okay.
Yeah, I think definitely meet in January. We've already got things happening in January.
Okay, if we can do as early in January as possible, that works for me.
Okay, how early?
How about that first week of January? Are you traveling? When are you back?
The 4th.
Okay, how about the 7th or 8th, Thursday or Friday?
Okay. Okay. I'm not pushed into this. It's okay. 7th or 8th is fine. Go for it.
I'm going to schedule surgery for after that meeting.
Yeah. So a Thursday is better for me than a Friday.
And it's better for me too.
Okay. What time of day do you team members like?
This is good. Good. This is good. Let's do it now.
Okay, 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Sure.
Very good.
Okay. So it's going to be January. What's the date of that?
January 7th.
Okay.
And as of now,
All right.
it'll be Zoom.
Zoom or WebEx.
Yeah. Well,
Right,
okay.
right. Yeah.
I have much
Okay,
better luck with Zoom than this WebEx connection, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Try to
This
stick-
works better because otherwise we would have to pay for a Zoom account, and we don't want to do that.
Right.
So this is good. Okay. Good job
All right.
for everybody. Good job, everybody. Oh, Gary's fine. Okay. We can, so,
Okay, I've got to try to figure out how to not share my screen anymore.
I think we've lost Gary, and I think we've lost Holly, and of course, Kate earlier. So we're down to you, me, and Patsy.
I'm trying to figure out how to get out of screen share. Let's see. Can we go ahead and adjourn, vote to adjourn the meeting? I need to turn off the recording and I can't figure out how.
I so move.
All right, I second it.
All right. Good job. Thank you. Very, very invigorating.
Great. I am, just so you know, I'm still trying to turn off the recording. I cannot find.
I
Good
can't help
grief.
you.
Good grief. Okay,
Sorcerer's Apprentice.
stop.